Hey everyone, welcome back to the Content Club. I'm so excited. I say this every single podcast. We are on episode number 6 and it has been a wonderful, wonderful journey. I'm not sure that I'll ever stop being excited, so you might have to put up with that at the beginning of every single podcast. Just to let you guys know, I actually record these in the office. It's 7:46 in the morning. It's Tuesday. I don't know when this will go up. It probably won't go up on Tuesday. But yeah, so I record these first thing in the morning when no one else is around, everyone else is sleeping or travelling or doing whatever, commuting. And it's a great time of the day to do them. It's a wonderful sort of, it gives me the focus to just get on with it. And I always do them in one take. And that's probably not advisable, but the way I look at this is it's better having something out than nothing. And if I was going to record it, then listen to it, then criticise it, then worry that I said too much, then I'm never going to put them out. So for me, I'm a great believer in just trying to get in, get it done, get out. And a lot of people don't agree with that. See the big there? I really should go back and edit them out, but I'm not going to do that. It is something that I am planning to look at in the future, is to look at some editing of podcasts and things like that. But for me at the moment, it's about, as I say, getting it done, getting it out there, and getting some feedback and finding out really, what people want to hear about, and not just what people want to hear, but what problems they're having. What can I help create a few solutions for, or give you a few top tips for. And this week, or this podcast is looking at 6 things that you need to create a really good list-based blog post, otherwise known as listicles. I remember when I first heard that word, listicle. I hated it. I just hated it. I don't know what it was about it, whether it was the phonetics of it or whether it was because I just thought it was stupid. I don't know, but they are called listicles. I am embracing that as best I can, but they're a list-based blog post. Now, just to be clear, it doesn't necessarily have to be a blog post on our website. This could be a marketing email. It could be a piece of content that's going out on social. It doesn't have to be an actual blog post. In fact, it could be a podcast, because essentially this podcast is going to be a list-based podcast. So when you're writing, that blog post or that marketing email, it doesn't really have to be that daunting. Sometimes it just takes us just one small idea and about 30-40 minutes to write it. And so we kind of say to people, look, as professionals, we should be able to write a very basic blog post in anywhere between 15 minutes and 30 minutes. Most of our clients will tell us that they spend hours, on blog posts, and I really don't agree with that. I think you just need to get in there, get it done, get out. So no doubt there'll be people who are horrified at the thought of writing a really important piece of marketing content in just half an hour, but that's what I really want to get people to. If you don't have the budget to come to companies like ourselves and get these done for you, and if you don't have the time to sit traumatizing over hours and hours of working out what you want to put in, then you want to get to a point where you're just knocking them out quickly. You can go back and edit and change and fix and ask people for their feedback and all of that, but I really, as I keep saying, I'm going to say it again, get in, get it done, get out. So when I'm talking about this with people, it really is easy, and I can't say it enough. I'm not just saying that it's easy. It actually is. Once you get this formula, so for me, you should create a little template for yourself, and this is one that you can then fill in every time that you want to write something. So here are 6 things that you need in most list-based blog posts, those listicles. So number one is the concept. So in order to decide what you're going to write about, you really need to be thinking from the point of view of your potential customer rather than with your business head on. You want to ask yourself, what kinds of problems do your customers come up against? What questions are they asking you when they're on the phone? What stumbling blocks do they have? What blockages? And then ask yourself, well, how can you help them with some of these problems? People laugh at me because I do the content club, and they say to me, Tina, but content is what you do. If you teach people how to do it, then why would they come to you? And for me, the answer is very, very simple. People should be coming to me, not necessarily because they can't do it themselves, but because they choose not to. So they choose not to because they have the budget to take it outside, or they don't have the time, or they just prefer a fresh pair of eyes. There's many, many reasons why people would come to us. Some people just come to us at the last minute because, they have promised people a weekly blog. They haven't had the time to do it, and we knock it out for them, and no one knows any of the better. So it's, for me, the reason I do this is to, I suppose, teach people what my business does as well. It's giving people a bit of an insight into the different things that they can come to me for. But also, it helps people to understand that I do know what I'm talking about. I've been doing it quite a while, and I feel a bit weak saying that, but it's the truth. So anyway, we've got our concept. Next, we want to think about our headline. So you want to think about, so before you even begin to shape this content, look at what kind of content is your customer already reading. Are they informative top tip articles like this one, for example, what they want? Is it educational based articles? Is it academia? Is it more technical information contained in them? Is it articles that, inspire and entertain? What kind of stuff is your customer already reading? How did they get to you in the first place? How did they get to your competitor? How did they get to services that are similar to yours or in the same field as you? And if it's all of the above, then you just simply decide which one you want to tackle. And so now it's time to cheat. Everybody knows I love a good cheat when it comes to content. So for example, pretend you're a hairdresser and you've decided you want to talk about frizzy hair. So you think about what your customer wants. Well, your customer wants to not have frizzy hair. So you might have seen an article last week. It may have been called something like 5 top tips for cooking the perfect steak. But you could apply that headline to your own subject. And you could change it to 7 top tips for taming your frizzy hair. So what you're doing is you're just looking at the formula that is being used by other people, by some of the bigger websites, Huffington Post, BuzzFeed, Vice, Metro, even some of the tabloid papers are starting now to do listicles and things like that. So do take a look, and always remember, never overpromise. So that's, to me, what clickbait is. If you promise something, somebody clicks in and they don't find it, that's clickbait to me. So once you've got your concept, you've got your title, and now we want to get an introduction together. And I'm a great fan of list posts that have an introduction of about 3 to 6 paragraphs. Nothing, and I'm not talking about long-winded paragraphs. We're talking about 1 or 2 short lines, keeping it nice and snappy. In your introduction, what we want you to do is outline the problem, explain why it's a problem, and then identify a possible solution, which will lead directly into your tips. So your tips are the solution, okay? And you want to make that clear in your introduction. Then you want to move into your list. So that's tip number 4, into your list. So you take each point that you want to make and give it a 1 to 3 word subheading. So for example, when I was writing the blog post for this, I called this particular point your list. The next one was call to action. The following one was conclusion. So what you're wanting to do, you just want to summarize it in 1 to 3 words. And then take a short paragraph or 2 to tell them what you want to say. Don't give up too much. Don't give too much away, because each item on the list could be a follow-up blog post on its own, which is really important, because we don't want to be creating content that, puts everything out there all at once. And the reason for that isn't about not wanting to tell your customers things. What it's about is that people can only consume a certain amount of information, and especially when they're learning something new, you want to keep it in nice bite-sized chunks. So once you've done that, then you want to add in your call to action at the end. So there always needs to be a point to your blog post in the first place. So maybe you have special treatment you offer in your salon for that frizzy hair. And this is one of the points in the top tips. So if that's the case, be very clear about what your offer is and how people can get it. And then you want to reinforce that at the end of your blog post by reminding people what you can offer them and how they can contact you. And very lastly, our tip number 6 is a conclusion. So not all blog posts need a conclusion, because sometimes they come to a natural conclusion with the call to action. But sometimes there's a really nice way to round up the message and add some further information about you or your company, the call to action, etc., etc. But you need to be very, very aware. Far too many blog posts have too much self-promotion in them. Yeah, and that can really put the reader off reading the blog post in the first place or coming back for more, because what we really want is we want people to come back again for something else. They want to get more information, they want to delve a little deeper, and they want to trust that you're the person to do it with. So don't be, overly salesy, because, that's just silly. Our consumers are really switched on, so they know when they're being sold to. I mean, it comes as no surprise that there is a call to action once or twice within this podcast. There has to be, otherwise I can't make it worth my while. And that call to action at the end is going to be like, if you need your blog post done, come to us, and so we want you to do that at the end of your list-based post. Just create a really nice call to action, explain to people, have an ask. What is your ask? My ask today is that if you can't or don't want to create your own blog post, that you give me a call, or that you ask me what else I can do to help, what other problems I can help to solve. So anyway, that's it. That's our top tips for creating a listicle or a list-based blog post. Again, as always, you can connect with me on Twitter, which is @Tina Calder. You can get me on Instagram @Tina Belfast, on Facebook @Tina Calder Journal, or you can email me tina@excaliburpress.co.uk. And of course, I always say at the end, you can check out more of our blog posts. A lot of our podcasts are based on existing blog posts. Some of them are blog posts that haven't gone live yet, so do keep an eye on our website, contentclub.excaliburpress.co.uk. And you'll find lots more that's going on there. We'll probably add a wee section for the podcasts soon too. We're just getting around the technicals, etc. But we are on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on Spreaker, and I think there's a few other places as well. So please do share it. I would love that if you could. And of course, as always, give me your feedback. Thanks very much for tuning in again. Bye.